Welcome back to Pro Shop. So in the last video, I built the titanium exhaust and had that all tacked together. And I was going to go on to building the fuel tank. However, after getting all the parts I needed for the tailgate, I decided to move on and finish the tailgate. So that's what I'm going to cover in this video. It's a big video, it's a little panel, but there's a lot of work gone into it. So sit back, hope you enjoy it.
Alright, so today I'm working on the tailgate. I want to finish this, I want to gap it all so I can start making the hard lid. But to get the gaps right, I want to get it locking and latched right. And one thing we didn't have in this build were the striker plates. So I thought about this for a while, and these mechanisms, they still work. You know, you can still buy the springs and stuff like that. There's a bit of a bend in there. This handle, it's, you know, they always snap the ends. They kind of poke through here. They always break, and this has been repaired. Sort of, I don't know why anyone hasn't made a billet version of these, because they probably sell a lot. Anyway, I thought, seeing I have to, you know, look for parts, we got rid of the original hinges, so why not replace all this? And the idea, what I came up with, was still Holden, just a little bit later model. So it's a VS. Nice striker plate. Nice striker plates. Only 2 bolts. And the bottom bolt has the cable. You can still buy the cables brand new, which is a good thing. Nice and neat on the side. Need a handle. This all looks pretty similar anyway. So I'm going to pull this apart, pull that out, and see what I need to do to fit it in here. After a lot of contemplating what to do with this tailgate, I have come to the decision to remove the skin. It was a new skin that's been put on. There's lots of dents and it just doesn't fit. I think they had some trouble at the top here because there's a low section here and there's some nicky in there, there's some nicky on the corners. Because the other thing that I want to do is square it up. So if that's flush there, this side sticks out. So the skin and the frame's twisted and the skin's been fitted, and it won't budge until I pull this skin back off. So I'll unpick it. Well, that took some work. Yeah, and this is exactly why I needed to pull this off. It just, it had been, look, you can see it was cleaned, but it wasn't protected. And I'll unpick all of this because I won't be needing that. Yeah, bit of repair work to do. And here, all this just would have rusted away. Tailgate's very prone for this because the water just will fall in here. But not this one, because this is going to have a hard lid and I'm going to seal it. But I still keep the drain holes. This, well, I'm going to just check the price of a new one, but I don't think it's that much. But it won't be that much for me to make one. I'll see what's easier. Okay, so first I just want to check the price of a new panel. You can get a rust repairs panel or the full panel, $150 for a new full panel. It's not too bad. I've used this guy before. I actually got the door skins off him for the EH. They were pretty good, so I would buy that. But yeah, just some other things that come up when I was searching was the hinges. These are the tailgate handles. They're $500 for a pretty good condition one. That's probably mint condition. This one's not so good. It's got the end broken off. It's still $250. And this is another tailgate that I've found. They want $250 for the whole thing, and this is terrible condition. I think even the one on the Patina EH was a lot better than this. And then you can go to the other end, which is something like this tailgate for $2,500, and this would still need a lot of work as well. You know, there's some good factors. You know, it does have a handle in it, so that's like $500 there. But just to clean it up and probably put a new skin on it, you're looking at a couple of hours there. So I'll just make a new skin. Okay, after putting some rust converter on it, leaving it overnight, I fitted it back onto the car, got all the locks and latches in. I still got to do this striker, but what I want to do is incorporate the striker into this side panel I'm going to make, but I want to also add a rubber seal, so that when that closes, it'll close nice and soft, and then the latch will pull in onto the striker, and that way it shouldn't rattle as well. So that's the idea behind it. Let's see if it goes to plan. Okay, so I did a big chunk of this, and I just want to show you this before I weld it together. So that's the striker plate, and I want it to be adjustable. So this is an 8mm bolt, and I did a 12mm hole in this backing plate, and then I've locked it in place, and this little plate will move around. So give me a little bit of adjustment in there. I've got these holes just so the bolts can stick through. I've primed everything with weld through primer, and this plate will go on like that. So it's similar to the original one. You can see these, see what I'm talking about. See how they move. So I've done a similar thing to that. The only difference between this side and this side is that I've added this extra flange here, and that's for that's for this rubber to push on, and then that will seal against the frame here. Right, one side pretty much done. It's all tacked in. I've still got to go in here and fully weld both sides, but I want to play with this top bit first. I want to get this side all perfect and a nice edge up here, and then I can mirror it onto this side, and then I'll make the skin fit. So just to show you this little bit from side on, so you can see how much it drops away here. All right, a lot of work for a little panel. A big mess, from the shrinking and stretching to air hammer to a forming die, just for this little shape. So I wanted that edge to follow along so I could put that rubber all the way around, and I wanted this to sit dead flush, and now I can weld it in. All right, that was a lot of work for, I don't know, 10 mil, but it would be terrible to build that up with Nikki. So done right. And anyway, I needed that edge, so I may as well make that whole cap. Yeah, it looks pretty good. All right, so that section removed. You can see it's pretty rusty inside, so I will be coating all that before I put it back, before I make a new one. But these are those cage nuts. They move with the striker. This is a good opportunity to see these hinges. You can see that gas strut. Now this piece is tacked in, I can start setting the striker depth. So I need to know how wide to make this little panel in here. And that's is going to be the surface that the striker sits on. So to do that, I need to put the tailgate back on and close it. Alright, with that little panel tacked in, I've cut this on out, trimmed it to shape, and I'll put that in there. And now I need to mark in there. So just use my scriber with the right angle and get in there and that's in the right spot. Sorry for this noise, but and there you go. That, I don't know if you can see it on the camera slightly. Now I'll just cut those tacks off and tack or weld that along here. Alright, while I'm waiting for this to cool down, I've got to work on this. So this is where the original one sat, here and here, and I just used this hole and then drilled my own ones to put the new Commodore latch in, the base plate for the latch. This isn't going to be the original spot. I was just using this just to mock it all up. But I'm going to cut this out and plate that again. Alright, last piece of the puzzle. So I've just drilled some holes just for the bolts to stick through. So before I finish all the welding here, I'm just going to make this top plate, this little cap section. You can see what I did with this is that I wanted to keep this thickness all the way through. Originally it tapers, it narrows down a bit, and then it gets wider here. So that's why you can see a bit of an overlap here. So I'm just going to make it like I did this one. Made it in two sections. So I folded like a Z. So I needed something to put this pinch on for the hard lid to sit on. So I folded up and folded across, and then went around and did some shrinking and stretching to get that piece nice. And then I did a similar job on here, but just with one angle, and shrunk that around. And then to get this edge, I used a forming die, just I made it up, and then I can just hammer the piece around to get a nice sharp edge. So So I removed that piece and I've made up one section of this little Z section. I'll just go along here and I need to shrink it and stretch it to get it to follow this curve. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'll show you. These little tools here, this one stretches and this one shrinks. So I won't do it hard, but you can see by the teeth in there that if you do it without a bit of metal in there, you can shatter the teeth. So it just pinches the metal and pulls it together for shrinking. And this one will do the opposite by pulling the metal apart. And this piece, so the smaller curve, the smaller fold, I will shrink that, pinch that in, so it'll start pulling the metal into a curve that way. And then on the outside here, on the top edge, I'll stretch that and bend that around. Okay, that come up pretty good. So, oh no, it fits in there really nice. That's a nice gap at the bottom, or no gap. So now I can just trim this in, and then I can tack it, and might just need a bit. Oh, it's pretty flat. I'm actually really impressed with that. Okay. Well, yeah, I'll trim it in. All right, I've just tacked it in the corner, got some clecos in there to hold it nice and square, and it is really square. I don't know if you can make that out with the straight edge behind it. So now I'll make this piece up. It's a little bit, it's almost the same, but a little bit different because this is just a 90-degree fold, and it's easy to shrink and stretch. This has got a bit more of a radius, and it's not 90 degree. It's gonna want to not shrink and stretch because there's more material in here. It's gonna be a little bit more of a pain, which is why I made this forming die up. So that's the shape that I want. So I'll fold it and stretch it, I'll shrink it to that shape, and then I'll hammer it on the die to get that nice edge. Right, I think I've got it. So that sits so nice. I'll just keep trimming it in, take a bit more and more off, but right, this is the finished piece. So now I'll just trim this out, give it some paint, and weld it in. All right, well, I finished these corner sections. I've just got to weld them in. Before I do that, I want to play with these straps. So what I first thought I wanted to do was, because I've changed this all over to Commodore latching and the strikers and stuff. So I ordered the Commodore cables, but they're too long. There was no measurements on the website. Just thought I might be able to make them work, but no, they're way too long. So after returning them, I did my first option. I found these on eBay, and they were, I think, for a Land Rover Discovery or something. And they will work. So what I just did now is just screwed it in there, just to make sure that they don't clash when they come up. And it's really nice. So what I've got to do now is pull it apart, weld a nut on the back of it. All right, sides all done. It's tucked back in. Fully weld it now. You can see just by welding the nut on the back, I can mount that cable to. Right, now I've got both sides tacked in. I'm gonna fully weld it. So first thing I want to do is just tack a brace, just so the amount of heat in this doesn't push and pull this, and then it'll change the gap. I'm not too worried about it now because I still actually have to gap and make the outer skin for that, so not too much of a problem if it does move a mil or two, but it's better just to put this brace in there so it doesn't. All right, all welded, just except for this edge, as I said. I'll do that once the tailgate's on. I did this bit and all up in here, did the back, ground it all smooth, and now it's time to reassemble the tailgate. All right, now that everything is assembled, got these latches bolted in now, and the last thing to do is set up these cables. So I've just got a level on here, and it's looking pretty good. And I'll just drill a hole and bolt that in. Cool. All right. Very happy with how this has turned out. You know, when you've planned something and you imagine it in your head, and then you get all the parts and you put it together, and finally it comes out perfect. These work really well. The latches, the rubber, everything. You can just push it closed. These tuck in nicely, they don't foul on anything. Strikers, or the latches touch the striker, it doesn't touch the rubber or the body on it when it comes past. You know what I mean? Like that latch there, just hits on the striker, just enough to get it in. So happy. Okay, the time has come to start making a new tailgate skin. So what I've done is I've just cleaned up all the edges, just gapped, just put a bit of tape and sand. So the tape mark, so there's a nice gap all the way. I've just folded up a little trial template just to make sure I can get that fold in the folder. And yeah, that fits nicely. So I've already put a nice little roll in it, just something to take that low out because it does have a slight curve in this. You could have a flat panel and bend it round, but it tends to suck in through the center. So just a slight roll and 10mm fold, and that's where I'll start. So I'll fold that up to as far as it can go on the folder, and then that'll hook in, and then I can start pencil lining where the folds are, and I'll work my way down all the way to the bottom, cut the bottom off, and then fold that around. Alright, starting to take shape. So I've got that folded right over so that hooks on to the lip. It's a little bit back, but only because there's the thickness of the steel that's overlapping here. So once that comes back, once that's trimmed in, that'll come back. But I'm just trying to get that shape, and pretty happy with that. Other side's looking good. Now I'll come down, and there's a couple of, it's like a nice little roll there, so that'll take a few folds, and then I can mark the bottom. Alright, to fold the last part, I have to take it off because I need to trim this to length and put a return fold on this, and it was hitting on the beaver and the bumper bar. So I pulled this off, and you can see how it clips around. Follows this nice, got that clamped to hold it in position, and now I can just pencil line where it's going to sit. I will leave about probably 20mm overlap, and I'll try this on and just make sure that everything is lined up at the bottom nicely before I put that fold in there, because once that fold's done, I can't undo it. So I want that dead straight. If it was out 1mm on one end, it's gonna make the gap underneath stand out like, well, I'm pretty happy. It was quite simple to make, but just getting everything to line up, 1mm out here and there could cause a problem. This fold is perfect. Gap along the bottom, perfect. It's just got nice shape. We'll just see how it opens. Nice. So I'll still have to flatten this over, clamp it in, and this one's over, but I can still go a little bit more. Once I've finished all of the tailgate, I can put this in the folder and actually press that down harder, and I'll probably do the bottom too. Alright, I got to the end of editing this video and realized I didn't do an outro. So a couple of days have passed, and I've actually finished the rear wall there. It's really ready to be welded in. But yeah, wrapping up this tailgate. I'm still gonna do this inner section, but I'm waiting for some catches and some latches to turn up for the hard lid. That's why I went ahead and finished this rear wall. I needed to finish this edge that runs right around, and now I can start making the hard lid and make this section where this is going to come up and seal into the hard lid. This is the sort of little mock-up I've been playing with. So I'm going to have a 25 by 25 or maybe 25 by 50, I'm not sure, but it's going to be 25mm high and then a 3mm thick top, which will sit on that rubber. There's a little bit of tension on there, it'll sit flush. So that's what I've been working on. So this section in here, I've got to do something with all this, make a little edge for that to sit on. It's got to have a rubber, it's got to have rubber on two edges, it's got to have rubber on the bottom edge to seal here, and then a rubber on this edge, so that the tailgate seals up against it. So yeah, a lot of work on that. That's coming up. There's also starting the fuel tank. I'm gonna be doing that. But yeah, as I said at the start, this was just a little panel, but there was a lot of work involved in getting it right. And once I finish this, I can fully weld up sides. And yeah, this rear end will be done soon. Very happy with how this car is coming out. And then we can move on to stuff like the inside, the aircon, all the wiring, fuse boxes and stuff. And I've got to pull the motor out and send it away because it's going to get started to get built. So yeah, so there's a lot of stuff happening. But that's it for this video. It's a bit longer than usual. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like it, like it. If you have any comments, leave a comment. If you haven't subscribed already, if you've made it this far, you probably have, but please consider subscribing because it really helps me out. And yeah, as always, thanks for watching. See you next time.